This episode of the Christians Who Drink Whiskey and Their Open-Minded Friends podcast is brought to you by Guy and Lady Barrel alcohol-infused cigars. These cigars are absolutely incredible, and they are perfect for any occasion. I particularly enjoy their newest flavor, Mojito. I'm not sure if you heard me correctly. I said Mojito-flavored cigar. I don't think it gets much better than that. Now, cigars are best enjoyed with company, so head on over to alcoholinfusedcigars.com and pick up a 5-cigar box set with any flavor of your choice. These cigars are great for birthdays, weddings. They're a great gift. You can give them for almost any occasion. I particularly love to get a cigar out, go on an evening walk, and pray. But you can use it however you want. Once again, thank you to Guy and Lady Barrel Cigars for sponsoring our show. Go to alcoholinfusedcigars.com and see all they have to offer. Please enjoy responsibly. Hey, I'm your host, Kevin Hackenberg, and this is Christians Who Drink Whiskey and Their Open-Minded Friends, a podcast brought to you by Funny&Amen, Dad's Hat Whiskey, and Guy and Lady Barrel's Cigars. And so thank you very much to our sponsors. Thank you very much to Funny&Amen and all our patrons out there. And thank you very much to my brother, David Richard Hackenberg, who, as opposed to David Eugene Hackenberg, who's our father. And thanks for having me on your show. We're not drinking whiskey today.
Your show.
What's that?
You said my show. You said your show.
We've been having a long day of family time here and a lot of good conversations, and we're drinking not whiskey today. What are we drinking, Dave?
Malibu and Coke, or Malibu and Sugar Pepsi, which I like.
Oh, nice. You know, if you are drinking girly drinks with a man, you're probably drinking with the Hackenberg brothers.
Yep. I like girly drinks.
That's good. I was thinking of calling it Christians drink rum and Coke, and everybody friends, but whiskey had a more bold appeal.
Friends that drink rum and Coke, so
appeal. We drink up rum and Coke a lot with the friends. My friends gave up sugar, and now they're drinking like vodka and seltzer. It's just not the same. There's no flavor. What's the point?
Yeah, I'm not sure why you pay for a drink that has no fruit to it. I mean, I like something fruity, sweet, and
so I always tell people when Meg and I go out to drink, the server or the bartender, whatever, will come over and they'll hand the beer to me and the Cosmo to Meg, and then we'll be like, "Oops, we got it reversed." I get the Cosmo.
That's
she
how
gets
it works
the beer.
for my wife too. She likes beer more than anything else, I guess, too. But yeah, she's pretty sweet.
So we're sitting across from a bar. I'm gonna turn my chair here a little bit so I'm facing you mostly. But my knees don't have where to go on this side of the bar, but it's good. So we are brothers. We're both bald now. That wasn't the case when we were younger. We both had hair. Believe it or not.
You had longer hair than I did.
You had long hair?
I had long hair for a while. Not real long, but I had a lot of hair on top.
Oh, yeah. We both had long Eddie hair on top, which is nice. Unfortunately, our mom's side of the family have affected that. But I'm looking forward to this podcast. We come from the same family, but we definitely have a lot of differences. One thing, let's talk a little bit about some people that are watching the show don't know this, but we are the son of a pretty famous beekeeper. You are now a pretty famous beekeeper in right? You're a star of not a star, but featured in a couple documentaries.
Yeah, trying to make people aware of what's happening with the bee industry and our food supply and our health system altogether. What we eat, what you eat in your body or take in your body really makes a difference in your health and how you live. So
now just a little bit about my brother. We grew up son of beekeepers. You went off to mechanic school, were a diesel mechanic for a long time. Then you came and became a partner of our dad. And now also you got a little homestead here with some animals out back. I see some cows out that window. I see a pool with a zip line out that window and a 3-story things, and you had a koi pond, very very artistic. I think all the Hackenbergs kind of like get out their artistic things and either chrome on their trucks and lights or other things. But you also run a gun shop called Doubletap Firearms in Milton, Pennsylvania.
Yep. So we sell guns on the weekend when I'm not working honeybees. So a full-time beekeeper and a part-time gun dealer. I thought it'd be something to get into for the bees don't work out and we lose all our bees, and maybe could fall back on the guns a little bit. But that has its up and downs depending on who the president is and how sales go. For the last 2 years, sales were really dry. And then this last spring with the Chinese virus, I like to call it, it spiked a little bit. We can't get any new stuff in, but we're selling a lot of old inventory, which my wife is ecstatic about. Even though she wants to close up some days. So, but I do sell legal suppressors and legal machine guns. So if there's any time you want to buy a machine gun or come try a machine gun out, legal machine guns, we have them here
Stay
too.
tuned. Maybe Doubletap Firearms become a sponsor of the podcast, but we'll check that out in a second. But I was going to segue something, but yeah, we're talking about guns. We're talking about all kinds of stuff. Let's go back in time. I'm curious. You know, we're older gentlemen drinking our girly drinks or whiskey, depending on the day. And what was it like growing up as the son of a migratory beekeeper? And describe for our viewers. Some people don't know me that much about. May have heard my story. What's it like growing up? It's weird. You know, your brother. I know the answer. I know some of the answers to this, but what was your perspective on growing up as a migratory beekeeper's son?
When I was young, it's a lot of work no matter what. If you're a migratory beekeeper, we run honeybees in Florida in the wintertime. We used to make a lot of orange blossom honey. We pollinate almonds in California. We pollinate apples in Pennsylvania. We pollinate blueberries in Maine. We go to New York in the summertime to make clover honey. And then July and August, we start putting bees in pumpkin pollination in Pennsylvania. A lot of time on the road, a lot of time fixing up beehives. Everybody thinks I go to Florida in the wintertime for vacation, and that's actually my busiest time of the year, is making up all of our losses. And when we used to make orange blossom honey, the chemical companies have pretty much wiped out oranges in Florida, so we don't make hardly any orange blossom honey anymore at all. So we spend more time repairing our beehives that have virus issues and things like that. We spend a lot of time nowadays making protein and feeding bees during pollination because there's not a lot of good resources for the bees to get. When you're pollinating monocrops, most times they don't make honey off that, and the pollen source is the protein level's low. So we have to supplement that stuff. To where we used to not use a protein at all, now we're using upwards of 20, 30, 40 pounds a year, depending on where they go.
Let's talk about the general. Let's try to get. I mean, we can dive the science behind beekeeping. You know, people are still figuring out bees and what their little dances do. But as a kid, what's your earliest memory of a kid? You know, being part of our family. It doesn't have to be about migrating bees or whatever. But what's your earliest
my
memory?
earliest memory is being about 4 or 5 years old, with just a veil on and helping my father out in the bee yard. I'd help run a smoker or something for him while he's putting boxes on. I remember coming home from school at night and helping extract honey. A lot of times in the spring of the year, I got designated to go along to help put bees in apple pollination. So there's a lot of times I was out there. We wouldn't get home till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning on a weekend, and I'm sitting there bouncing my head off the window as he's driving through the orchard and stuff, trying to stay awake. And it was something I thought I would never do because I just didn't like. I don't mind working. I just didn't like the nighttime working that was involved with migratory beekeeping. I went to be a car mechanic.
If you guys don't know, back at home, the reason you have to move the bees at night is because the bees come back to their hives, and then they think they're home, and they are home, and then you move their home onto a truck and then move it to the next place.
So you either pick up bees at nighttime after dark or early in the morning while they're all back in the hive. Because during the daytime, they're coming and going so much that if you pick up a beehive in the middle of the daytime, all the field force will be still flying there and trying to find their home.
So you said the bouncing your head off the truck. I totally remember that too. Like, and you're taking a big rig down a dirt road, or no road.
My biggest fear when I was that age is getting stuck and being out there all night. We were stuck a lot of times. There were a lot of times big tractors came pull you out, or training. There's been times where I've been out moving bees in the pouring down rain, and your clothes are soaking wet, and you go to sleep in the truck and get up the next morning. Dry clothing in the truck, and most of our trucks years ago didn't have a sleeper bunk on the back, so we slept across the front seat. And when you're parked next to a van trail or the floor,
I remember you and I driving we're in the truck with Dad on the way to Florida. And
first time we were with Mom too. We laid on the floor between the seats and by the shifter.
I remember like both of us trying to like fight for like the right kind of like fetal position that had us like
not getting bounced off the
ship. And the floorboard part of it was hot from the engine, like it was like crazy, yeah.
But there've been times I've laid on the seats and woke up and felt the truck move, and it's actually a van trailer next door to you pulling out, and you jump up and you're slamming on the brakes trying to get your truck to stop rolling, and you realize like, oh, you're still parked, but the truck next to you is moving. That's a scary feeling.
Yeah. We have I still act like I'm part of the family business here. You got tractor trailers. Part of being a beekeeper is learning to drive a truck because you have to haul these bees back and forth. So you have a CDL, you have a truck driver,
yep.
and yeah. So if you see a beekeeper on the road, boop boop, pour your hand down and see if they will blow their horn at you.
So there's a lot more things than just keeping bees. I mean, we have extract and honey. A lot of everything made with a beehive is made out of wood. So you have a lot of stuff rotting, going bad, replacing boxes every year, replacing the frames, the plastic inserts. We melt wax down. We buy and sell wax to candle makers. We sell to a lot of monasteries that make candles for a lot of different monasteries. We buy and sell honey.
Monks.
Yep.
The monks. Why can't they just make beer like they used to?
They're diversifying. they do that too. They need more money too, like everybody else does. So we buy and sell wax, buy and sell honey. We used to produce close to 300 to 400 barrels of honey a year. We used to run. My father and I alone used to run 3,000 to 3,200 hives a year.
Which, by the way, for our whole life, I thought like, wow, we have 3,000 hives of bees, but there's these guys, are the Armstrongs, right, or whatever, these families that out of the West Coast that run like 10,000 or
there's beekeepers all the way up to 60 and 70,000 hives.
Whoa.
That have major crews of 25 people.
Yeah.
But 3,000 hives for two guys, that was a pretty good amount of bees.
Yeah.
We worked a lot, got some bad backs out of the deal. Dad right now, he's got some back issues. It's hard for him to get around sometimes.
Just as we go, we're the Hackenbergs run like a small family business with like how many besides so there's you right now, you got your sons, your two sons and our cousin involved,
and some part-time help, some of the boys' friends and some of the neighbors that help out on and off. Dad's got a couple of trucks.
On an average day, there's in Hackenberg apiaries
4 to 7 people working.
Yeah,
just depends.
Cool.
And then my wife takes care of all the paperwork and stuff,
Yeah.
so she does all the stuff behind the scenes pretty much.
Yeah.
Yells at me when I don't have it right.
I think that comes with the marriage, not the family business. Maybe both, but both get to double down on that. Yeah, it's really interesting. So, as kids, our family. I think was it when you were born they started migrating to Florida? Because when I was born, they were already migrating to Florida. You were
somewhere around my first birthday was actually on the road. Going to Florida. I think that's when he started setting up shop in Florida and running bees out of Florida. Actually, he was in Kissimmee, which is actually where Disney World is at. Disneyland. Which is it? I can't remember.
World.
Disney World. So where he actually lived is now part of the theme park down there. And then they moved a little farther west to Dade City.
BD, before Disney.
Yeah, before Disney. So we live in Dade City, Florida, which is about about 30 miles north of Tampa, which Tampa's growing every day. One of our biggest problems with beekeeping nowadays is locations. You got to find somebody that wants to have bees on their farm, and then you have to find a farm that doesn't spray a lot of chemicals or don't have corn and soybeans. So you need something that's going to be diversified enough for the bees to survive on, and a good water source, things like that.
So let me ask you this question, because I think I might ask this years ago when you became our dad's partner. But you went you went to school for diesel engines, and then you were working for a long time primarily, you probably weekend worked for some extra cash, the family business. But why did you decide to jump back into beekeeping?
I went to diesel school mostly because Dad had trucks, and I thought it'd be a good thing to have a education in that side of things. I graduated college, came home, and the first year I was home, we had a big fire. I mean, the shop burnt down. They were doing brownouts, bad electrical storm in the wintertime, and the shop burnt down. And it was a lot of stress then with everything going on, and I had an opportunity to work as a car mechanic for a gentleman that went to our church. Great guy. We got along good. We were almost like brothers too. And I got married. Yeah, I figured I was coming. I got married, started having kids, and you need more money. And Dad never really spent the time to tell me how much I could make in the bee business. And he always says we make a lot of money because we put it there. That's what the bee business makes a lot of money because you keep putting it there.
That's like the film industry. You hear the joke about how you become a millionaire in the film industry?
Start off $1 million.
Start off as a billionaire.
Yeah. And the gun industry is somewhat the same way. It's up and down, and you're competing with the internet and trucking and everything else. The internet has helped things, but also destroyed things. I mean, I got people buying guns online cheaper than I can actually get them because there's people out there just selling volumes of them. And I'm not no computer genius, so I don't know how to do that. But they're selling volumes of guns at my cost almost. So it's sort of hard to tell your customer, well, I can't get you at that price, but I have people send stuff in, so it helps out.
Yeah. It's so interesting. It's so interesting. There's a difference right away because we were, there's many differences even when we were growing up. You would go help Dad. I would go to try to help Mom because I didn't get sticky or stung or sweating too much. And but also because I was more into computers, our family did our family books on a ledger system. I mean, writing it down on a pen and paper and a paper ledger. And I got a computer and pulled up, I guess a spreadsheet program, whatever it was back then in the days of Commodore 64s or whatever. And I remember putting.
You mean you could do other things with that besides play Spy Hunter?
Spy Hunter.
There was a lot of hours of that.
A lot of hours of Spy Hunter.
Was wasted time.
It was a ninja game. It was a ninja game.
I was trying
Boulder Dash.
I was trying to match a Spy Hunter. I couldn't do it.
Yeah. I get the.
And there was another one we went through Dice or some German.
The
Castle one.
Castle Wolfenstein
or something like
Castle
that.
Wolfenstein. Yeah, good stuff.
I forgot all about that.
Yeah, it was good stuff. Anyway, so after that I got a PC, and another way to get away from the bee work was to do accounting.
He was always smarter than I was.
Nah, maybe.
I tell everybody my brother and sisters are smarter than I was because they figured out a way to get out of the bee business.
You got back in. That's the problem. So
I wasn't smart.
Math. I was gonna say is I had a chance to do the family books. I didn't know what a spreadsheet was. My mom's like, here's a ledger, put it together, make a ledger in the computer. It'd be easier and much more easier to read than any of our handwriting. And I remember going down through, and the income side was easiest because there was a stack of invoices. They're all the same shape. And instead of there's two boxes, right? You get a box of invoices. They're all the same shape and organized by shape. And there's a box of receipts. That was
expenses.
Huge box. You're like, let me take on the small side first. And so I put in the income. I'm like, oh, we sold a jar of honey, $6. We sold a case of honey, $40, and then I'm going down through the receipts. I get to like some bee rentals. I'm like, oh, we rented some bees to pumpkins, like, a couple $1,000. Woohoo, we're rich, First time I ever saw like a comma in numbers before, And then I got to Maine, and there were a lot of zeros on this one. And the zeros were on the correct side of the decimal point. And I was like, we are rich. The Hackenbergs are rich. Like, why didn't Mom and Dad tell us? And then I got all that done. I'm like, look at that big number of how much we made this year. And then I went to like the 3 boxes of receipts that were like, oh, these are all just like receipts from McDonald's or a tire shop. How bad could it be? We can't get close to that number. Turns out with a lot of little receipts, you can get past that number.
Yeah, pretty fast.
And I think that for me, that was like informative to kind of just think at things that like, what are the pros and cons of any business for that matter, let alone like
people. And I still get to today, people say, well, you're a millionaire because look at all the trucks and equipment and buildings and everything else. And we do make,
you have $1 million in people would call this, I don't call these assets because assets have to make you money,
right?
But in stuff, you got $1 million in stuff.
And trucks to me is an expense because if you don't keep it moving on the road, it's going to sit there. The tires are going to go bad. The seal will start leaking. But we do gross a lot of money. The problem is, and we gross over $1 million a year. The problem is expenses are over $1 million a year too. I mean, trucks, fuel.
It wasn't congrats because it wasn't $1 million when I was doing the books.
Yeah. Well, it looks good until you start putting on paper, and then it's a business. And a lot of people look at somebody running a business and think they got it made and they're making big bucks, but there's a lot of headaches behind that to try to keep a business running. And I'm actually buying Dad out, and I've seen the headaches for years. And I was actually laying on the floor in Florida this winter. My back just messed up, and I'm laying there thinking, what the heck am I doing? I'm 48 years old. I was sort of half happy. And he says, you're going to have to buy me out or we're selling out. And the problem is, I don't own enough. The warehouses are all his. The land's all his, pretty much, where we work at. And I wouldn't get enough out of my share to really go start over in this business. So it's either my choices. And I have 2 boys working for me. So my stress this year is I'm buying a business for a lot of money, more than I've made in a long time. And is it the right thing or not? I got probably another 15, 20 years to get all paid off. And then where am I at? I mean, it's going to be more paid off for...
You sell your sons, maybe. I don't know if they want to do it.
If they want to stay in it, that's the biggest problem.
Or you sell these beekeepers with 60,000 hives of bees. That's a lot of honey. They better have a lot of money.
Yeah.
No, it's interesting, So there's this, you watched, we were watching one of the sermons from my church recently, and I tell this story a lot. There's another pastor in Philly, a guy named Kent Jacobs, and he came and was a guest preacher at church once, and he preached this whole sermon about one of the proverbs about watching the guy go down toward the prostitute's house. And I'm like, he started preaching this, and I'm like, where's this going? And he started bringing in some Barry White music. He's like, whoa, check this out. And it was like, I'm like, this is my kind of sermon. It's hilarious. It's funny. It deals with lust and stuff like that. I kind of deal with. I'm like, but there are women in the audience. Like, where's this for them? And the whole point of his message was that be careful even the little decisions you make today, pointing yourself one direction can lead you to a long future down the other direction. I thought to myself, it was interesting, I've been doing corporate videos for 20 years. And if I had directed myself 5 degrees off, I could have been headed towards a different kind of, I could have headed towards something really bad or something that I didn't want to do, news. Or I could be headed towards another 10 degrees off the other way. Actually, I could headed toward more entertainment content. So it's just very interesting the choices you make, the little tiny decisions you make over time really matter, I think. That being said, what I don't know what.
Sometimes we're so busy that I'm so busy that I don't see what my decisions are or choices are. I don't have time to make a choice that a month down the road I end up in one place. It's like because we didn't do something here, especially with the bees in treatment process, things like that. We're so busy getting bees out of pollination. We're so busy going into another pollination. We're extracting. We're trying to take care of customers. And I might miss a bee treatment, and then I pay for it a month or two later with losses, bees died, things like that. When our first year we started finding these losses, we had a really good year. We had 2,900 hives of bees going back to Florida that year. And normally you lose 15, 20%, and you make that stuff up in the wintertime in Florida. And that year we had only lost, we made bees up, we only lost maybe 5%. We had 2,900 hives of bees going back to Florida. I said, Dad, what are we going to do with all these bees this winter? Well, that was the first year we had CCD. And when we got done in January, I had somewhere around less than 800 hives left. So I didn't have to worry about what I had to do. We just had a lot more work. And a lot of it's back-breaking work. Picking up a box full of honey is a whole lot easier than picking up an empty, dead beehive because the stress just loads on your shoulders. And when you're pulling off honey, it's like, whoa, we're making honey, the bees look good. When you're picking up a dead beehive, it's like, oh, what are you wrong? I got 6 more months before the bees are going to start growing in the springtime to be able to fix this problem. So for the next 6 months, I'm stressed out about, can I get my enough bees for pollination? Can I make all my pollination contracts? Will I be able to make enough honey for my honey sales? Where's the money going to come from for the next year? And if you're just one person, I found out that if it's just me, I can handle a lot of that weight. But when I have employees or family involved, or my father, trying to help, I'm taking his business and it's like, am I failing because I'm not keeping this business alive?
So
or how's it work?
that's interesting because you know there's a lot of psychology that I have not really studied, but I hear whispers of about firstborn, second kid kind of stuff. Have you heard any of that stuff? And firstborn has more responsibility. Look, my wife's the firstborn.
First thing you got to realize is I hate reading. So if it's in a book, I don't know anything about it.
Well, you can check out this on YouTube and podcasts, so there's no reading involved anywhere. Thank you very much. I think
firstborn has more stress some days.
There's more responsibility.
I know it's not our family because when somebody got picked to go help smoke bees at night, it was always me. And I'm looking well, why can't he help? And Mom would go, well, I need him to help here. It's like, what's there here to do except mow over the trees Dad planted?
There was a lot of dusting. That lemon pledge didn't push the boom button. Yeah, I think that you've always had this more of a sense, and a lot of firstborns I think have more of a sense of, from what I hear. Email if you're a psychologist, please correct me because you're out there watching. But there's a sense of responsibility or something like that. It doesn't always work out. Some families are different than that, but I don't know. I definitely see you feeling more responsibility to the family. Funny
it says
story.
Honor your father and mother. So what does that mean?
Doesn't say honor them into bankruptcy or into a career choice that.
Hell, does it mean help them out?
However, though, I want to get Dad on the podcast soon, Mr. David Hackenberg, Senior, because I remember two things from our dad's very cool. We'll talk about that in a second, but I remember two things. Well, our dad's very cool. I think that I'd be curious to ask him, why he started in this business. We'll go into his whole backstory, but. One of the things I remember in our little house we had one in Lewisburg, and I remember, I'm not sure if both of us didn't want to go to the bee yard that day or that night or whatever. I'm not sure how the conversation started, but I remember him having a revelation that one or both of us didn't want to take over the family business.
I remember that one.
Yeah, it was very interesting to me because I was like, I don't ever want to be a beekeeper. And I remember it was very upsetting to him. And it's very interesting. I think that to me, I was just like, it made me kind of like think about like, well, that's very interesting. I think the other thought was like, I remember our dad saying like, I don't want you to become like an educated idiot.
There's a lot of that out there.
There's a lot of that out there. I think that did you ever feel like that sense of pressure to
stay in the business?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I never really got.
Was it from you or from him or from like?
I think from everywhere, I guess. I never got really asked if I was anything else I wanted to do or anything. I mean, and I didn't really. I guess I was too busy. I like sleeping on the bus and like sleeping in school. And the first thing I got up in the morning, I like really missed my pillow. So there's a lot of times I just go to work, put in second gear, and it's like when I get home, get done what I get done. And if I get to spend a little time by myself, okay, whatever. But I guess I was always happy to just be home and just be able to relax a little bit. I mean, we're always on the road. We're always traveling. We're always away from home. So if it wasn't school, it was work or putting bees in pollination. So there's a lot of, I don't know what. I mean,
that's interesting because I think that for me, so just a little backstory for our viewers, listeners. We would as students of the elementary, middle school, and whatever, kindergarten and high school, we would check into school in Pennsylvania in the fall. We would typically go through Christmas and New Year's in Pennsylvania, and then right after New Year's, we might go back. We hardly ever went back to school right after New Year's.
Yeah.
We'd get in a truck, go to Florida. Then there'd be a bee convention, so sometime in January, we'd go somewhere in the United States for a little, what felt like a family vacation / bee conference, and then we would check into a new school in Florida,
for third quarter,
and then transfer back in fourth quarter.
Yep.
And to me, there was a lot to my perspective on it. Well, I heard you say like a couple years ago that that was a lot of stress for you. For me, that was fun. It was kind of like a way to kind of like get out of some classes, go visit some. For me, it was entertaining. It wasn't like, I think it kind of made a detriment to some of our possible like friendships.
We made new friends in Florida. I mean, every time I came back to Florida every year, I would see some of the same kids I was going to school with and stuff. But it was sort of stressful because it was just changing schools and stuff for me. I wasn't as easy to get. I didn't get, I guess, adjust easy as you did. I don't like change. I hate change. I mean, when the bees started dying off, it was a big change. And still, as a beekeeper, it's weird because there's times when Dad was still helping work bees, I'd be working bees with him, and it wasn't, maybe 5-10 years ago. It's like, okay, what do we do this hive? And he turned to me and goes, I don't know, what do you do with it? It's like, well, wait a minute, you're the beekeeper. You're the guy I've been watching for the last 20 years. It's like, there's so many differences in our business anymore. It's really changed things. But back to the kids.
Changes. Yeah, it's interesting.
I remember going through, so back when we were kids, probably elementary school and stuff, Interstate 95 through Virginia was toll roads. And I mean, every couple of miles you'd be stopping in Virginia and paying a toll and stuff. And Dad would drive a big straight truck, pulling trailer, pulling bees, or equipment or whatever. And our mother would drive the Ford pickup truck, and we had the back seat laid down. And he always liked going through the cities and looking at all the lights. And I always liked laying in the back just trying to get some Z's. He'd be always up talking to Mom and stuff, but I'm back there trying to sleep. And it's just like, and it amazed me, and it makes me think. Well, I always have questions about God. Why some people are like this? Everybody's different, and that's a great thing in this world that everybody's different to some degree. I mean, some people are really different, but it's like, why doesn't everybody get the same energy level? Why doesn't everybody get the same ability and drive? I'd love to have the drive that you and my dad have. And I'm sitting back here just chugging along, putting it out there.
I don't know. I'm sitting here on this like 40-acre, 30-acre, whatever it is, like place, and you've got like, I'm sitting in this new place, and maybe you don't think you have the drive, but like every time I see something, you're accomplishing something, or you're going.
Well, if you get me started, I'm all right. That's the whole problem. Once I get started, this thing here, if I stop this project, it's hard to get back into it. But once I get started, I come home at night, it's like, hey, we're going to get this job done. But I'm just somebody that you got to give me a task and I'll do it for you. I mean, I like helping people out. I like helping people with their cars. If they got a question, I get probably 2-3 calls a week from people either, why is my extractor broke down? Why I got honey burning in the sump pump? And how do I fix this car or truck? And if you're a beekeeper, you got to be a mechanic too. I mean, there's just too many things in there that you got to keep running.
Yeah.
But growing up was sort of hard some days, but I'm here now.
Yeah. Is it like, thank you for the compliment about me being smart. I think I'm slow in the uptake because I used to, when I finally moved to the city where there's more opportunities for filmmaking at the level I want to do it at, I was like, I love the city, and I called mom or something. She's like, I was like, I really like the city. She's like, well, duh. I'm like, what do you mean, well, duh? She's like, well, you used to like make me wake you up every time we drove through Richmond, which is the only city I ever saw fly by because no other Hackenberg wants to stay in a city. And so, and the funny part of that is I would after I saw Richmond up close, I'd be like, I'd be awake all night being like, where's the next city we're going to go through? And there weren't any, by the way, long story short, but there'd be on the horizon, there'd be these lights. And I'd be like, oh, wow, is that a city? Is that a city? And it's like, oh, it's a truck stop. You know,
lots of lights.
City of tractor trailers. Let's talk about, before we get into like the typical religious questions I ask, let's talk about guns. So today you showed me a Gatling gun. In the past I've been here and you let me and my very young daughter fire M16. When we were kids, before we got into guns, you were into switchblades. And there's always been this like, is that legal kind of like
gray area?
I don't know the laws, but there seemed to be there always like that. You would always go towards that like the thing that was just a little bit gray.
I don't do drugs. I'm not sure if they're gray or not. I mean, there's lots of legal drugs out there. If you
today. But my question is like, why? There always seemed to be a fascination with like dipping a toe into like what was taboo or illegal.
I don't even know.
Illegal is the taboo.
I don't even know.
Or figure out where the boundary was.
I guess I don't even. And a lot of times I look back on that stuff and I don't even think it was like, oh, I'm being bad, like illegal stuff. It's like I was just interested in mechanics of stuff. Mm-hmm. Like when we go out on the road or something, or we go on vacation, and I think very often people are always like excited about being here, being there. And I'm looking at the engineering of a building. I'm looking at the architecture of stuff. I mean, in the town where we keep bees in New York, you go through that little town of Chamont, and the old architecture on the houses, it's like I'm looking at that, it's like, okay, they did that by hand. That had to be extensive work because they got all these little, what do you call them? And it's like, and I look at stuff like that. I don't look at the trees or anything else around. I mean, I like trees.
So the Gatling gun, the machine gun, what's the 50 caliber? That's a mechanical fascination.
Yeah, and so it's history too. Like, I mean, we've had this stuff. A lot of things were legal back in the 60s and 70s. And then just all of a sudden people decide, hey, we don't like stuff, so we're going to make it illegal. Well, there's a lot of things I don't like too, but we can't make a lot of things illegal. I don't like fancy sports cars because I can't have one, but they don't make it illegal. I don't like a lot of things. I don't like cities, but we can't make them illegal either.
I think it's... We almost bought a Corvette together. Remember that?
I know, yeah.
So
that wasn't expensive. That was all pieced apart.
Yeah. There's a reason we didn't buy it because it was about to fall.
I think it had one header on one side and had one had a header on one side and a regular manifold on the other side.
Thank you for looking at the engine because I don't know a thing about engines. But I was looking at the passenger side floorboards being like rusted over. So So
where did we start this coverage? What were we going after? Oh, switchblades and machine guns.
Oh, yeah.
So anyhow, back to guns. It's just A story one of my gun customers tells is when he lives in Danville, Pennsylvania, on the way to school.
Pause. Time out. Don't hit as much because the audio's recording there. So,
right now.
Yeah.
So one of my gun customers tells about going to school in Danville when he was a kid, and he's probably 70 years old now. Is they used to walk back and forth to school with their 22s, and everybody's out in the porches. Oh, hi, Dan, you're going to school. Good, going to shooting club after
Just
school and stuff.
Waving it around?
Well, you just carry it over his shoulder, safety. They were taught safety and everything else.
Yeah.
And my daughter, Jordan, I mean, when she was probably 2 years old, I had a BB gun, a full auto BB gun, and she's got a binky in her mouth. I got a video with her and a binky in her mouth shooting this BB gun, and you teach her safety. Like, put the safety on, keep your finger off the trigger, and she did great. I mean, she has a couple of her own rifles now. I think she's turned 14 today, right? 15. Sorry, Jordan. I don't know.
That's what she told me. That I think I got it right. So
it's probably 15. Yeah. That means John's gonna be 16. Yeah, another driver in the family. But a lot of it is teaching your family. Our father.
Asher and Jake, how old are you? I don't remember.
Yeah. Our father used to carry a shotgun to school, put it in his locker, and after school they used to go hunting with the bus driver after they got home from school. A lot of people did stuff like that. And honestly, I don't know exactly what happened to our country. Somebody just all of a sudden decided, hey, this is scary. We don't like this, so we think everybody should not be able to do this.
Yeah.
Well, that's taking away rights. I mean, if you don't like guns, don't wear them. If you don't like a mask or don't like guns, don't like masks, don't wear
it.
It
is interesting, like you're talking about going hunting with the bus driver. I know some of our other conversations this week, like there's a lot of things that are now suburban used to be completely rural, and I think there's a lot of expansion that.
I think there's a lot of uneducated people out there on a lot of issues in our country. That we have freedoms that our country started on, are valued, and
back to you. Because I know where these conversations go between us.
No, it wasn't.
My question. So for you, the switchblades that we used to go around the flea markets of Florida was more mechanical
and collector. I mean, I didn't carry them.
It was unique too.
Uniqueness. Yeah, a lot of times. I mean, like Corvette or anything else. I mean, not many people have one. It's nice to have one.
Well, you just made them illegal, because earlier.
Oh yeah, right. I was talking about Lamborghinis.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
But no, it was collect. You can still collect them and stuff. Machine guns are still illegal if you do the paperwork. I mean, the government wants their money out of it, and that's all you got to do. And there's not too many legal ones out there. But Thank you for letting me fire the machine gun. That was when I was here a couple times ago, and Asher when she was really young. She probably doesn't remember it.
And the Gatling gun, I'd love to come and play with that sometime. And you got 50 caliber, right?
A 50 caliber bolt action. It's not semi, but yeah, 50 cal. Yeah, it makes lots of noise.
What is? It's cool. I mean, it's fun. It is. We took gun safety together when I was 12, I guess, or
hunter safety class.
Hunter safety class, and it was guns were never my fascination, or owning a lot of guns was never my fascination. But I do enjoy marksmanship, and I've always wanted to go. Do you hunt still at all?
I take my son Jonathan hunting. I'm not into shooting animals as much. I mean, now groundhog, coyotes, things like that are bothering the farm or something like that. Yeah, shooting deer, I'm all right with it. We need meat. Hey, and I think a lot of people are afraid of losing their guns because if they out here in the rural, not in the city, out in the rural here, we use guns a lot. I mean, I use guns in the bee industry. I have a suppressed 22 I carry at nighttime to shoot skunks that are actually scratching hive, eating my bees. We shoot bears when they're killing beehives and stuff. I mean, I had a bear last year. I had one location that had 80 beehives in it, and by the time I got back there, the bear had totally destroyed 79 hives. He did close to $12,000 in damage. And the bad part about that was them bees would not make me bees next year, I split bees in half. They wouldn't make a honey crop. So it cost me somewhere around $12,000 in damage there, but it would have been more. It cost more in the long run.
Yeah, lost stuff.
So I mean,
cool.
we're out here in the rural. And a lot of people don't understand this either, is we're out here in the country where if I called the police, it would take them maybe 15 to 20 minutes to get here if they have somebody even close by. So we use them for protection. I mean, I've never had to use one yet. Don't want to use one.
There's no difference in the city. Cops are 15 minutes away. Typically.
But sometimes you got neighbors right next door that might be able to help you.
Yeah.
I mean, here we're just out here in the country by ourselves. I mean, somebody comes knocking on the door. Just like last night, my boys were at a prom party for one of our friends, and there's this drugged out lady walking down the street. They're right in the middle of the highway, and 3 people had to slam on their brakes without hitting her. I guess she was trying to get hit. But
come to Kensington. I mean, they're on every corner.
Yeah.
This episode of the Christians Who Drink Whiskey and Their Open-Minded Friends podcast is brought to you by Dad's Hat Pennsylvania Rye Whiskey. Dad's Hat is real rye whiskey made the right way. This month's featured bottle is Classic Rye. Barrel aged for at least 6 months in charred new oak quarter cask allows the genuine rye flavor to evolve quickly. As a result, this small batch whiskey is ensured of reaching the right balance of complexity and smoothness. The final product is a very smooth spirit that delivers upfront spice that rye is known for while finishing with a full, round mouthfeel. To find a distributor of this award-winning whiskey, head on over to dadshatrye.com, or if you're a Pennsylvania resident, you can have any of their delicious rye whiskeys delivered right to your door. Trust the distillery with over 200 years of American distilling tradition, Dad's Hat Rye. Please enjoy responsibly.
Here's some questions for you. The question I ask everybody on the show is, what do you think of Jesus?
That's a good question. Now you're going to make me think.
Too bad.
I don't like thinking.
I'm just going to have to straight up from here.
I don't know how to answer that question. I think, and one answer, I guess, is in the last 4 or 5 years, I've actually relied on him more. I've actually let God take care of everything. I mean, I'm trying to let God take care of everything. I mean, I messed my back up about 4 years ago where I was off work for a month. I mean, laying at home in bed. My wife had to help me do anything. And every time I moved, I was in severe agony. I mean, I've always heard people say I got a pinched nerve in my back. It's like, okay, I've dealt with back pain before. But if you have a crushed disc or a slipped disc, it's excruciating. You can't even move yourself. I mean, there was times I'd get out of the bathroom and just hop back to bed, throw myself in bed, and just scream for 20 minutes because of severe pain. But since that time, I haven't been quite as stressed about this business. I've gotten to the point where, hey, God's going to do what God's going to do. I'm going to work. I've always had a lot of questions about, okay, God takes care of the bird. If God takes care of a sparrow or whatever, he's going to take care of you. But we still have to get up and go to work every day. So what does that mean? I mean, does it mean I don't have to do anything and he's going to take care of me? Or I still have to maintain a job. I still have to support my family. And so there's a lot of questions in there. So I don't try to, me personally, I don't try to ask a lot of questions because the more I ask, the more I get questions. So it's frustrating for me. And we go to church almost every week when we're allowed not have to wear a mask. But I sit in church most days. Not most days. There's some Sundays I sit there and grit my teeth because I'm hearing something that, okay, you're telling me what I need to do, but you're not telling me how to do it. You're not telling me how this is going to work out in my situation, in my life. So, and then I come back to God's going to do what he's going to do. I go to work every day. I try to do the best I can with my job. I do pray as I'm working. I've been thanking God more in the last couple of years for what I do have. I appreciate what I have a lot. Even though I'm tired and stressed out, I do appreciate what I have. It's just really hard some days to get through each day. So I don't try to. I have a daily verse that pops on my phone. I don't like reading. I wish I did. Honestly, there's lots of books out there I would like to read. Guy told me the other day, he goes, you need to read this book on bees, ABC 1, 2, 3. It's like, oh, it's a book. That's going to be a hard one. So it's like, I don't read my Bible like I should. I do like the little apps that pop up. I try to have devotions with the kids almost every night. I can't remember the guy's name. I like the preacher. He has a good Bible study. but it's still hard for me to read even that sometimes. So what do I think of Jesus? It's like he came to earth to save us. He's God 3 in 1. And I have a hard time telling my friends about God. That's one of my issues I have, because like they seem to be happy in their life. They seem to have they have. I mean, someone working the same business as like area like I do, but they don't have to worry about getting up for church on Sunday morning. They're not stressed about getting the kids ready. I mean, you're not trying to push everybody out the door. I mean, I fight with that because it's like, okay, I'm yelling at the kids to go to church, and we're going to church. It's like, so what does this mean? Am I a bad dad? Should I leave them sleeping? There's a lot of stress involved in that, and being a father of 4. Well, sometimes my wife's in there too, so I gotta be a father of 5. It's like,
I think she's parenting you. I know Meg's parenting me.
so she likes sleeping in too. So it's like, and Sunday, and this last week, I thought it was going to be an easy week.
It is the Sabbath.
Yeah.
It's very confusing. I gotta say, pastors with your sermons and your preaching. It's very confusing. Honor the Sabbath, and I want to be in bed. So
so it's like, and every week's different. So like tomorrow morning, I got to be out of bed at 4:00 to deliver some bees for pumpkin pollination. This last week, I thought it was going to be an easy week, but I ended up spending 3 nights putting bees into pumpkin pollination, and things just got way out of hand. Trucks broke down and things like that. So
a couple years ago, probably before this 4-year period you're talking about, I remember, I'm not sure what. We're brothers, right? So, little disclaimer: we argue from time to time. We call it discussing, but it's arguing. We were talking about, I can't remember, we were talking about spirituality or something like that. And I remember you saying this. Maybe you don't remember this at all, but I remember you saying to me, way before what you shared with me sounds. You have this relationship with Jesus. Before that, it sounded you said something to me that once that was very interesting to me. You said that I was telling you my perspective on Jesus, sacrificing himself, giving us the gift of his death. And you said to me something like, "I never asked for him to give me that gift." Do you remember that?
I think so, something like that.
Yeah. Do you remember what you were thinking at the time? To me, that was always like very interesting. I asked this question a lot of guests, and a lot of that I find it interesting because it's when I hear something unique. When I hear a unique perspective, to me that was a unique perspective, and I can't forget that. I can't forget those words.
I guess one of my things is. Not Christianity, but it's free. The gift is free, but it's not free. To me, it's following Christ is not free. You have to give up things you like. You have to give up things you want to do what he wants you to do, or to be a good person. There's a lot of things I wanted to do in life that might not have been good. I didn't always want to go to church. When we were kids, it was Sunday morning, Sunday night, and Wednesday night. And it's like, okay, that cuts out a lot of time when I go to school and get home after 5 o'clock from school and then work all night. It cuts out my Sunday evenings. A lot of times it left me 2 hours on Saturday because we washed trucks all day Saturday and worked around the shop. So it's when I was a kid, it's like
farm boys.
I didn't like church. I asked God to save me, Jesus saved me. But I never felt that revelation. I was listening to the preacher this morning, and he said about how when you first get saved, that's the best time of your faith or whatever, because you're so excited, everything else. And it's like, okay, he must be talking to somebody else, because I wasn't excited. I wanted to trust God. I wanted to believe in God, and I asked him into my heart, but I didn't feel anything revelation. I didn't get all excited and jump up and down.
Did Grandma
have a hand in that? Yes.
Did Grandma tell you about heaven and hell and put you on the spot to make a decision?
No, I don't think so. I think I did it in Sunday school one time. And see, everybody's supposed to remember this stuff. I can't remember what happened yesterday, honestly. But
all I remember is like being up on top of Grandma's hill in the mountains.
Yeah.
Pushing that cart.
Yeah.
And
there were some good times, actually.
Yeah, it was fun.
I like being in the mountains with her.
Yeah, it was fun. Rest in peace, Grandma. I remember her just being like, put me on the spot, like, like, well, we gotta make a decision. And it was like, well, heaven, hell. I mean, it's like not a hard choice, and that was the first like recollection of a decision I made. But I think later on there were like more decisive decisions that resulted in more joy, like the pastor talked about. However, there were also moments like going to a boring church service on a night when I didn't want to go, or that kind of got weird, or when I was, my faith was strong, wearing a Christian T-shirt and was told I wasn't allowed to wear that to church. I'm like, I'm like a billboard for Jesus, but I can't wear that billboard to church because it's not it doesn't have a collar and a button down. So I think, to me, those are moments that like.
You always talk about me and illegal stuff, but you were always rebellious. I remember that growing up.
I got a show called Christians Who Drink Whiskey.
I got in trouble for you wearing an earring, so don't worry.
When I had a real earring, or the magnetic one I came home with?
The real one, I think.
Oh, yeah. You got in trouble for me wearing earrings?
Because I got chewed out. Don't you come home with an earring in your head. It's like, so anything I did. See, you didn't have all the stress I had. First time I told my dad I was leaving the house, boy, he was not happy at all.
What do you mean leaving the house? Like moving out?
I bought a house and moved out.
Oh.
And he was not happy I was moving out because I wasn't going to be around all the time to fix stuff and take care of stuff. And
it's tricky.
I felt honestly bad about it. I mean, it tore me because it's like I wanted to be there to help him out. So
interesting. We forgive you, Dad. Forgive your mom. Yeah. Good conversation. Great conversation. Oh, here's one.
I think it's a little unfair that I didn't see the question list.
I do give up people the opportunity to edit, but maybe I'll get Mom and Dad on the show before, and then we can all just have a big party. No, but by the way, Meg, we were talking with Mom last night here, and something that Meg said was interesting. She said that I think we were talking about some kind of family politics situation, or because my siblings live around the same place with, you guys live all stone's throw from our parents, Meg's is the thing, and Meg and I being, there's no city around here and there's not much video production. We're kind of like the black sheep that live far away, and there's a little bit less stress. It's a little bummer because like I don't get to every family function, but it's also
first of all, I don't know what the word is, but I'm the black sheep. You're not the black sheep, but your sister Bessie thinks she's the black sheep too. So,
do we all think we're the black sheep?
Only Jeannie, she's not the black sheep. She's pure white. You know what I'm talking about,
Jeannie. Some dirt on Jeannie? No, I don't actually.
Nobody does.
No one does. God does, because she's not perfect. Good try, though. Good try, Jeannie.
I'm glad I already had that much. My kids will tell you I start laughing like crazy. My wife says if I'm laughing, I'm lying.
Woo! I must lie a lot. All right, so it is interesting. Like staying around home. I never really thought about it. I mean, I kind of do. I never really thought about it, but like this is an interesting family dynamic. Like being apart, you get a little more freedom, but you also get a little less. It's just less time, I guess. And I think the more your life goes on, the more you're like, oh, I want to spend time with these people. I spent 20 years with them before I moved out. Let me spend more time with them. So it's interesting.
I think you being away though. Sometimes you get more quality time when you come back. See, me being around here all the time, there's days where
it's only for me. It's only quality time because I'm here. I've got no work. I've got no work I can do. I can't like be like, hey, I'm editing a movie while I'm sitting at here with you. I gotta be here during quality time. Now I see you and Dad and other people.
Still got stuff going on.
What's interesting because it's just I think it's an entrepreneur thing too. Like you come to my house and there'll be, there's constant the flow looks very much like it does at your house or Dad's house because they're an entrepreneur just always doing stuff. So anyway, let's go on to the next question. This is always a fun. Well, I'll come back to the other question. What's something regarding religion or otherwise that people don't talk enough about? I mean, I named the show Christians Drink Whiskey because I wanted people to I wanted to make sure we were talking about stuff we don't typically talk about. Let's talk about alcohol, for instance. We won't get to that question. Like, I think at our growing up, like, why are we drinking alcohol? Because
it was very taboo when we were growing up.
Very
My
taboo.
parents didn't do nothing. Now they go taste wine tastings and everything else going on. And
do you remember the wine? Do you remember the wine? There was a.
I remember they went to a wine tasting when we were kids. They went to the Canadian border, ripping.
Yeah.
Where were we at? Canada or
no,
Thousand Islands.
Yeah.
Thousand
Well, that was
Islands.
that trip. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember Mom was always.
Yeah, taboo. Washington's taboo. So, what are some other things regarding religion or otherwise that people don't talk enough about?
I guess one of the things I don't know about what not talk about, but religion to me we don't talk about mostly because it's not new in the news. I mean, it's not an everyday. God's not here. God's here, but he's not like walking through the door today. Hey, how things going? What you doing? Well, it's been a rough day. Can you bless me? Say a prayer for me, things like that. So a lot of times we just miss that, I think, in our lives because it's always here. It's always in the back of our minds. So we just don't talk to people about it. Most of the people we work with, at least most people I work with or deal with are religious or believe in God or things like that. I mean, not sure how much. Some don't always go to church, things like that. I have a few friends that aren't Christians at all. Some of my best friends are not Christians, and that sort of bothers me a little bit. But I don't know how. I've already tried talking to them about Christ, but when they're happy with their life, how do you change it? I mean, they don't seem to be missing anything. If they are missing anything, they lay up a doobie or something else. I mean, so it's hard to talk about that. What's the question again?
This is next question.
Did I hit it or not? Did I get any close?
You got the right answer.
Oh,
actually, going back. I think something you said way back in the conversation, but it's interesting. I think that to me, there's a moment you talk about. It seems like sometimes you want to know the right answer or the right step. I
hate being wrong. I want to know what the answer is. I want to know what the path is. I want to know which way to go. I don't want to go down this path, spend 4 or 5 days in my business. You spend 4 or 5 days going the wrong direction. Well, it's just like going on vacation. This is a good analysis. If I take a vacation, if I'm off for 1 week, I come back, I got 2 weeks of work to catch up on. And I don't like vacations actually. I like, get done with my job during the daytime. And up until about 4 or 5 years ago, I worked like crazy because someday I'm going to be done. I mean, I don't know if that means retirement. I don't know what that means, but I always work because I'm working to what most people work to the end of the day, end of the week. I'm working to the end of my job, and which I'm not smart to figure it out. There's never an end to your job. I just always work like I want it to be over someday. I want to be able to. I guess in my life, I just have this weight on my shoulder all the time. I'm just tired. I don't have the energy. So it's like my end of my job is where I get to just sit down, relax, and close my eyes.
I think sometimes as an entrepreneur, it is hard to find that if you have a 9-to-5 job, you're like, well, it's 5 o'clock. I'll take care. I didn't get done. I'll take care of it tomorrow. Or we have to do it. I'll just charge overtime.
Whatever the hired people broke that day, I got to fix that night for the next day.
Yeah.
Or a lot of times I'm in there earlier in the morning getting things ready to go. So when they get there, we're ready to go right to work.
Sure. All right. So here's the fun question. Thanks to Derek Sander, my podcast producer, for this one. Have you ever had any paranormal, spiritual, or supernatural experiences?
I don't know how to answer it because, for one, my memory is really bad anymore, but I have felt things.
So the mind suckers have come. And
They have. What was the one joke you said? If brains were dynamite, you wouldn't have enough to blow your nose or something. Not a lot of people got that. Anyhow,
I have Kleenex.
I don't know if I had something like that. I've been where I've actually got cold sweats because something comes over you like, oh, this is really weird. I was actually, during this whole Corona thing, I've worn a mask maybe twice. And the one time I was actually in a truck parts place getting some truck parts. And one of the things Dad said to me was, in this country, we could never shut down churches for any reason. But in less than 1 week, we've shut down the churches and everything's abandoned. And all of a sudden, it came over me that this wearing a mask and watching everybody wear a mask is actually, to me, the mark of the beast. We're all conforming to something that nobody knows if it's actually real or not. I mean, the coronavirus is real, but Chinese virus, it's not coronavirus, Chinese virus, is real. Gonna keep working that one. It's real. It's a bad virus. But am I going to spend the last 2 weeks of my life wearing a mask? Then I might, if I get it, am I going to sit there wearing a mask?
What about this? Are you going to spend the last 2 weeks of your life in a truck parts store?
I might have to. It all falls in or start protesting at the front door. I might not be able to get out. Anyhow, that's another story for another time, probably.
But I mean, like what?
All of a sudden it came over me like, this is a bad feeling. I'm never going to put this mask on my face again. And I haven't. I won't put a mask on. I've been in lots of places. They tell me, you wait outside. I got a breathing problem. I'm going in.
Because you, to me, you're afraid of the mark of the beast. You're afraid of the conforming.
To me, I'm not even, it's just like one Amish guy told me. His wife said, we need to wear a mask. He says, no, I don't need to wear a mask because that is just conforming to the government that's lying to you. He said, we are showing people that we are not being truthful by doing that. He says, we know what the truth is, that we've had this all a long time ago. And to me, it all of a sudden came over me like, if I'm wearing this and I'm looking around at everybody else wearing this, to me it's like I'm conforming to whatever is out here, power or whatever. I'm not sure who in our government's doing this.
So,
and state by state. We got
so this is... The question was about paranormal, spiritual, or supernatural experiences.
Maybe it's supernatural.
And you had this like chilly thought, or was it
feeling
like
or something overtop me that
there was something evil around.
Yeah, and I don't know if God told me don't wear.
You sure wasn't the air conditioning in the place?
No, I was in the middle of the store. I mean, to me, it felt like God saying to me, "Don't do this." It's not. That's what it felt like to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know a lot of things, but to me, it was just God saying, "You're not wearing a mask ever again." So
cool, good. That's your experience. I cannot take it away from you. All right, what are the pros or cons of our organized religion? Your organized religion.
So you mean like in church and stuff, or what?
What are the pros and cons of Christianity or
I think
church?
it's to me, it's sort of like a community. You have somebody you can rely on. Somebody, if you have friends that are Christians, you can talk to them when you're having a bad day. There's people that need people that. So if you're having a bad day and you want to kill yourself or something else, you might have somebody call up and say, "Hey, I'm having a really bad day." I think getting together and learning about stuff. I mean, a small group. And I've been in and out of small groups for a long time. When you have kids, it's hard to stay in small groups because of activities and things like that going on. Small groups keep you lined up, keep you studying a little bit, things like that. I think just the community and being able to talk to people, being able to be on the same page with people. I mean, a lot of times you go to a baseball game or something like that, you might yell out something and the guy next to you don't like what you yell it out. But a lot of times in church and stuff, you're all there for a reason, for the same reason.
Cool. You said you didn't go to church every Sunday, but what draws you to church? I think you might have answered that in
90% of the time we're in church. The only time I don't make church is moving bees all night long or vacation or something.
What draws? It might be the same answer as you said, but
honestly, sometimes it draws me to church, and in the last 15 years or so, I like going and hearing a good minister. I mean, I've had some good ministers I like to go hear, and there's other times it's like I should have stayed home. I do like some of our Sunday school classes, which we haven't had in a long time. Honestly, I go sometimes for a Sunday school class because some of the teachers we have in our Sunday school are just, we go a lot of different directions with it. It's a lot of good talks. And sometimes we get right off track and go into talking and stuff, and a lot of people bring up interesting stuff. And, excuse me, I go for that. And one of the main reasons I go for is to try to get my kids to go in the right direction. And it's a fight to get them there. I'm taking them there, so hopefully God will open their ears up to something the minister says, so they get around other kids that are of faith. And that's the biggest problem nowadays is finding a church that has kids at it at all. Because a lot of kids, a lot of parents, yeah, straight, that's not real good stuff.
I poured the rum down my throat.
Whoa.
Missed the lips, esophagus. Back to the children.
We moved from church to church trying to find a youth group because a lot of churches don't have a youth group or have enough kids to make a youth group. And even the one we're at now, there's a lot of times there's not a lot of kids there at one Sunday. I mean, they all come different Sundays, things like that. And my two older boys are getting old enough to the point where they live at home, but can I force them to go to church or not? Where is that fine line at where I don't piss them off like I pissed them off today? So it's frustrating.
I didn't notice, but
you were actually outside. You didn't see that one, but yeah, everybody else got to hear Joey and me go at it for a while. So it's working. It's one of these things working on the weekends. I asked him to go do some things tonight on Sunday night because I got to leave early in the morning, and it's like, well, I want my day off. And I guess when I was a kid, whenever Dad said jump, I jumped because it's stuff that needed done. And
I think maybe you're teaching him. Maybe he heard the trials you had. And is trying to draw boundaries. I mean, the fascinating thing about having a family business, and I remember this. I've told this story a lot, was like I remember having a family business and a farm business or a farm-related business like beekeeping. The boundaries are very blurry, and I remember. I lived in Philadelphia for, man, it must have been like 5-6 years. And I remember getting a call from Dad saying, like, we're having a family meeting. We have never had a family meeting, ever. And I was like, oh no, like, Mom or Dad have cancer. Maybe Davey has cancer. I don't know, someone's got cancer. A family meeting is about cancer. It's about, like, something happened. And I'm like, I'll drive from Philly 3 hours. It's 4:00 now. I can be there by 7. What's the family meeting about? And it was just like, well, Beth's trying to take over some of the books, and Mom's done the books, and I'm like, oh, pause.
What's it got to do with you?
I'm like, this is not a family meeting. This is a business meeting. We're about, I'll be happy to be there for emotional support of anybody who needs emotional support. By their what I thought I was the black sheep. If they need to ship over the black sheep, I'm happy to join it. But it's very interesting, and I think that there's a lot of boundary issues, and hey, I have my own entrepreneurships, and I have boundary issues with I try to get my wife to be involved in business, and she has way too good of boundaries, and because I can't abuse her, her time. So what's interesting is I don't know, maybe you're teaching them well by trying to, you're always teaching. You're always teaching. I find that you're always teaching. I tell the people I'm working with, I'm like, you see what I just did? Please never do that.
I don't try. I mean, I try hard not to make them work as hard as I used to work. I guess. I don't mind hard work. I just think I see too many people nowadays that they try harder to get out of work than they do work. So, I mean, I'm not talking about my kids, but just it's hard to relate to. If something needs done, I get up and do it. I mean, if you would call me today and you broke down, I'd jump up and do it. I wouldn't say, hey, call a tow truck or something. I mean,
It's hard. It's very interesting. You've always been a great serving other people.
I mean, I like helping, but I don't know.
All right, so what pushes you? What, if anything, pushes you away from religion?
Well, I got this brother that he keeps saying everything, his faith, this faith, everything else faith, and I'm trying to talk politics and about how our country's freedoms, and sometimes people just, we have some Mennonite friends, and they don't believe in voting because they think it's not against their religion, they just don't think it's, I don't know, maybe they do think it's against their religion. They don't think they don't want to be involved in politics because they think it goes against religion, maybe. And to me, this is our country, our freedom. That really hits me and people that live here. If you don't want to vote to keep your freedom, there's a lot of other countries to move to. That bothers me.
That bothers you about their religion if they don't want to.
No, that they're pushing. They'll try to push it. They're trying to be. They'll push it on people like, well, we're all good. We're very religious. We're very good about this. But then they don't want to help out when it comes time to help out their country or their community.
Do Mennonites like? Are they abject? Do they get out of military service?
I think so. I'm not quite sure how that works. I think Amish do.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they don't have to pay certain taxes or anything else. And there's religious freedoms.
Yeah.
They don't have to pay Social Security. They can actually get a thing signed by the church that says you don't pay Social Security. So I mean, they
don't get it then too.
They don't get it then too. But heck, man, I'd like to take that money and invest it somewhere else because
You can.
I don't.
You make up your own religion.
Yeah.
Davey Hackenberg's religion doesn't believe in Social Security.
We collect money here too.
I think that right. So this has been. Thank you for joining me on the podcast. There's two more questions that we have that are exclusive for our patrons.
Okay.
Those questions are, what happens after we die, and another favorite, why are we here? So check those out on patreon.com. That's patreon.com/Funny&Amen, FUNNYANDAMEN. If you go over to patreon.com/Funny&Amen, you can see all kinds of comedy content, podcasts. You get those a week early, other content, behind the scenes. There's different levels to subscribe at. And at a certain level, you get a free t-shirt. Boom. Check out our Funny&Amen store, which is now online. That's funnyandAmen.com. Go there and you can check out comedy content that's out there. We're giving away for free, as well as store. You can get mugs. You can get Christians Who Drink Whiskey stuff, Funny&Amen stuff. Check out our store. You can also check out our sponsors, Dad's Hat Whiskey and Guy and Lady Barrel flavored alcohol-induced flavored cigars, and maybe soon Double Tap guns. Is there a website?
Yeah, DoubletapFirearmsPA.com.
DoubletapFirearmsPA.com, and there's laws that I don't know, but Davey knows about how and when and why you can or can't have a weapon. And if you want to try to buy his Gatling gun, his M16 automatic rifle, or his 50 caliber.
And we have had good discussions on guns lately that Kevin's learning a lot about.
I am.
People can't actually just go buy guns.
Yeah, there's very fascinating conversations. If you want to get lots of gun-related content sent to your phone, go to the website, tell Davey, or call me. I will forward all of our communication,
educational purposes,
our political and gun and related conversations to you. It would be lots of great conversations. This has been a very wonderful conversation. I wish our family was here to see it, because they do usually see the other kind of conversation. And please join us again on Christians Who Drink Whiskey and Their Open-Minded Friends when I'm taking the Malibu with me, because that was delicious.